Hello everyone, it's Jay from LiveSportsTalk, and I'm here doing an interview with Michael Schwartz. He's a writer for the Valley Suns, and he covers the Phoenix Suns. How you doing, Michael?
Pretty good. How are you?
Pretty good. Let's get right to it. Obviously, the Suns had a busy offseason, about to see Nash go to the Lakers, and they signed Luis Scola. What's the impact he's going to bring to the Suns?
Well, first off, he's a veteran presence. He's the only guy in the entire roster over 30 years old now that Hill and Nash are gone. So that's going to be really key for the leadership. And then he's just a really solid low-post scorer. That's something the Suns haven't had the last few years without Amari. He's got such a crafty game inside that he's the kind of guy you can throw the ball into him and get a bucket. And as we're seeing in these Olympics, he's a pretty good passer, too. So I think he's going to fit in just fine with this Suns team.
Yeah. And also, the Suns drafted a pretty popular point guard out of North Carolina, Kendall Marshall. But was that the right decision for the Suns?
I think it was based on how the draft went. The biggest need going into the draft probably was some kind of a dynamic threat at the wing spot, but the four shooting guards that the Suns may have been looking at all were picked by them. The one that really hurt was Jeremy Lamb going 12th to the Houston Rockets right before the Suns picked. I think he would have been the right pick, but so long as he was off the board, the Suns had no point guards considering that Nash was gone and Dragic hadn't been signed yet. So you take a shot on a guy with some upside who does fit your system, although obviously not since he's not so athletic and doesn't have a great shot, maybe not as much upside as other guys, but I think it's going to be a pretty solid system fit. And guys take time to develop, so maybe in a couple of years the Suns will have two good point guards and get something for one of them.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite players coming out of college, and I really like him. Also, the Suns dealt Robin Lopez to the Hornets. Was that trade good for the Suns, or did it hurt the Suns?
No, I think it was good, because if you look at the long-term salary implications of signing Robin, the Suns wouldn't have much room to do anything next year. And he just wasn't going to get as much playing time as he wanted and as he probably deserved, with Marcin Gortat penciled in for 30-35 minutes a game. So the Suns were able to flip him, get a solid asset with the first-round draft pick coming sometime in the next few years from Minnesota or Memphis. And they're also able to get Wesley Johnson, who adds to their wing depth, which pretty much was non-existent going into the off-season. So, and then you also get rid of Hakeem Wark, who really was fairly useless in Phoenix. So, especially for the price the Suns probably would have had to pay to keep him, it just made a lot more sense to turn him in for an asset and a young player who could potentially become something in Phoenix.
Yeah. And a final question. The Suns made all these big off-season moves, I guess. And how would they do this year with all that talent they acquired?
It's really interesting because it's hard to tell. Going into every year, you knew they had Nash. You knew they would at least be in the playoff conversation, because I feel like any team led by Steve Nash will be, and I think that was pretty much confirmed with the roster the Suns put out last year. I think they're going to struggle to start the year, but start to get better as the year goes along, and ultimately just miss out on a playoff spot, just like they have the last couple of years. But it's a real boomer bust team. You've got guys like Michael Beasley, who has shown that potential. He scored 19 points a game in his career before, but you just don't know if he's going to turn into a real stud here or if he's going to continue to be mediocre. So a lot of question marks, so it's hard to really pin it down. But if I had to say right now where we are today, I'd say they're just going to miss the playoffs.
All right. It sounds good, Michael. Thanks for the interview.